Hello everyone, welcome to the third and last video of the second part of my guide, how to connect Bubble and Xano together professionally. In this case, we are going to review the scenario where user authentication is required, but also you need to limit the number of browsers or devices that connect with the same account. And you need some customization over the duration of over the duration of each session. And of course, it should be different from Bubble's default. So to explain this, imagine an application like Netflix. Netflix limits the amount of devices or browsers that can be connected to the same account. Or you could need, for security reasons, I don't know, because you're a fintech or some platform that requires extra security, you want to limit the sessions or each session per browser to a defined amount of time, like a week or a month, something like that. So in this second case, different from the first one, we are not going to store the tokens in the user table as shows this diagram, but we're going to store it in, or we're going to store these tokens in the local storage on the client side. So why is this different? Because when we were using the Bubble built-in system to store the tokens, we were using the native security features of Bubble as well. In this case, we are going to rely a little bit on the local storage. Well, we're going to rely on the local storage to store the token, which are subject of attacks or different stuff, or different issues. But at the same time, it isn't something that should stop you from using it. Actually, here in my guide, I attached a link to an interview that I found interesting from professional developers. To summarize it, if the hacker has access to your browser or your computer, basically you're screwed anyway. So that being said, we are going to put some extra layers of security to make sure that even if someone gets access to the tokens, they still will have to bypass the bubble system to be able to hack or abuse of the endpoints using these tokens we created in the Xano side, and then we pass to the client side. So to summarize, to make it simple, how this will work is that we will have a set of an access token and refresh token, but in this scenario, the access token will be a GWT, but the refresh token will be a unique universal ID. What's the difference? The access token has a duration and will expire eventually, but the refresh token will be a unique universal ID, which is a string that will be stored in the database in a table that we will call session. And we will have that record linked not just to this ID, but also we will have it linked to a user. And every time a user logs in from a different browser or device, a new session will be created in the database. That way, we can have more control over the session itself. If we need to terminate it, we can just delete the record or something, or edit some fields, and that's it. So yeah, that's essentially it. So how this will work is that the set of tokens will be generated uh, through an API call. We will pass the refresh token and this user Xano ID, which actually is going to be stored in the Bubble side. And then this is going to be passed to the server side. We're going to add a custom auth header to add extra protection to the endpoints, and then this is going to be passed to the Xano environment, to a refresh token endpoint, which will generate the new set of tokens to pass it again back to the server side of Bubble, and then to the client side, where we are going to store this again in the local storage. So we are going to dive into this part mostly of this setup, where we will prepare all the sound environments to create these sessions, and the access token will basically work as the same as the previous video. If you haven't watched it, I would suggest you to do it, because there's that in that video we review another technique that you can use if you don't need that level this level of customization and control over the sessions, and also um, if you don't mind that the same user can log in with the same account from multiple browsers or devices, then yeah, I suggest you to take a look at that video instead of this one. But if you need some more control and customization, then this is the right one for you. So yeah, let's jump into it. We have 12 steps in total. I will try to be quick, reviewing each one of these. But basically, what we will do first is that we're going to create our table called sessions, which will contain basically three different columns. The first one will be the session user ID, which is a link to the user table. The session UUID, which is our refresh token, and an integer field called duration days. And basically, this will be, as I said, an integer that will tell how many days this should last in this session should last. 30 days, 60 days. I don't know. You can customize that at your will. And yeah, so without more delay, let's jump into the Xano dashboard. And get started. First of all, as I said, we are going to create a table, and we will call it sessions or session. I'm not going to add the basic crude endpoints, and let's add it. So as I said, we are going to create first, the user link, user. We're going to create also the text for the session UUID. And finally, we're going to add. I don't remember how we were going to call this duration days. Okay, so we're going to add this integer called duration days. We're going to rename the user, and the reason is because I don't want you to get confused later down the road. I think this is a naming convention that will appear very often, so it's better to have it separated. So yeah, now we have this session table prepared. The next step is to create a function that will actually create the session out tokens for you. It should receive at least one input, which is the user ID. We can call it user ID, yes. And then we'll generate one authentication token, or GWT token. And also it will generate one UUID token, which is basically the refresh token we are going to use. So let's do this. We're going to go to the functions tab. We're going to add a new function. We'll name it as it describes in here. Press save. Here we are going to take the user ID, table reference user ID, and here we are going to create authentication token, and also we're going to create security UUID token. So let's call this one access token, and this one will be the user link to the user ID. So just in case, we're going to set this to oh, my bad. We're going to set this object the path of type to access. We are not going to use this right now, but still I think it's a good idea to implement this. And we are going to make it expire every 1 hour. This token will expire every 1 hour. Basically, this means that we will have to refresh the token before that time expires. This time expires, because otherwise the token will stop working and you won't have access to the Xano environment anymore, or at least to the endpoints that require user authentication. So I will save this, and to this second token we created, we will call this refresh token. That's it. Now, something to keep in mind is that, as I said, this is something that lives by itself. This is stateless, but this token, we have to store it somewhere in order to be remembered by the system. So what we are going to do is that we're going to create a new record, session. We are going to add a new session record, and basically this will be linked to the user ID, to this user. The ID we are passing here will tell which user should be associated to this session. We are going to make the refresh token the session UUID, and the duration days is something you can customize. You can decide to what how many days you want this to last. I'm going to enter 30 days. It could be a week, 2 weeks, I don't know. That depends on you. You can even store this value in a variable in the Sun environment, so you can tinker it or change it later if you want and automatize this process. I actually suggest you to do this, but I'm not going to do it now because that depends on that's on you. I'm going to just use arbitrary 30 days to for this field. And we are going to call this session or new session actually. Something like that. It doesn't really matter because what we are going to do now is what we are going to return the refresh token and the access token. Yes. So basically, what we're going to do here is that we're going to pass the access token, save, and the refresh token. And this is going to be named like this. Okay, cool. So now we have a function. When we call this, what we will be doing basically is create a new access token for this user. We will also generate a new unique universal ID that will be used as a refresh token, and then we are going to store the refresh token in a session record that is going to be created. This is a function we are going to call from the sign up calls and the login call. Let me go back to the um, API. No, sorry, I'm a little bit not concentrated. So let's go to here and let's see what's the next step. Create a new auth sign up endpoint link to your user table, etc. So now we are going to create the sign up endpoint and we're going to also create the sign in endpoint. So let's go to the API. Here I have already created a group for authentication, but to avoid confusion, I'm going to create uh, new one. Let's call it demo auth local storage. And here I'm going to add a new endpoint. I'm going to create it from the, oh my bad, sorry. I'm going to create it from the authentication option and sign up. Let's select user and save. Now this is created, right? Basically what it's doing is you are checking if the user already exists using the email you're passing to this endpoint. If it exists, it returns an error. If not, then it creates the user and it creates an auth token. We're going to delete this one and we are going to other function, custom functions. Uh, Auth tokens, create session auth token. That's the one. And we're going to pass the user ID. There you go. And actually, let's name these tokens. Uh, Sorry. And now we are going to return the from the tokens field, I mean variable, the refresh token. Actually, I'm going to copy this. Refresh. And the access token. Oh, oh, there you go. Let's see that everything is fine. Refresh token, access token. That's fine. So this is it. We have our sign up. I think this is all for the sign up, if I remember. Now we upgrade our users return both tokens. Yeah. Now we are going to create the login endpoint, authentication, login, user, save. Oh, I forgot something. I'm going to fix it in the function. No, not. Yeah, forgot I said anything. I didn't forget anything. Okay. So this is basically, you know how this flow works. It checks if the user exists. If it doesn't, then it will return an error. Then if it exists, then it will check the password. If the password is correct, then it will create the token. If not, it will return an error as well. So we are going to delete again this token down here, and we are going to actually add the function again. Here you go, and let's use user ID. Okay, cool. So, oh, I forgot to rename this. There you go. So now we add the tokens to the response. And let's add the access token as well. There you go. So we have refresh token, tokens, refresh token, tokens, access token. Cool. Okay, fine. So yeah, now we have created the sign up and login endpoint, and that's it for now. Now we are going to create the third endpoint, which is actually the interesting part, where we are going to refresh or auth session tokens. So let's name it like this. I'm going to create the endpoint right away. At endpoint, authentication, um, not authentication, sorry. I'm going to start one from scratch. This will be post, and we're going to name it refresh auth sessions tokens. Cool. So what we are going to do here is that we're going to actually pass the refresh token. One second. Okay, cool. Sorry for about that. I wanted to read this very quickly to make sure that everything was fine. So yeah, basically what we're going to do is that to this call we just created, we are going to add two inputs. The first one will be the refresh token that we are going to pass as parameter. You can either use parameters or you can create your custom header. Either way, that works. That's fine. In this case, we're going to use the inputs, but yeah, you feel free to use custom headers. If you don't know how to use custom headers, you can watch the first video for the first part. The first video of the second part of my guide, where I show you how you can use a custom auth header to verify your calls. That being said, I would suggest you to always include into your bubble calls to the Xano side, to always include a private custom header to authenticate your calls. That way you can always validate the source of the calls that are being made to your endpoints. But I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to take much time. I don't want to spend much time on that. And yeah, so as I said, we're going to input the refresh token, and then we're going back to this place. We're going to also, well, that's, and we are going to enter the user ID, table reference user ID. Now, this user ID actually is the user ID being created by Sun automatically that we will store in the bubble side, because we're going to use the how to call it, the authentication system of Bubble as well. So we're going to, when we create the user, and actually that's the thing I was forgetting, right? I'm going back to the sign up API call. I'm going to do it very quickly. Sign up, and when we create this user, we should pass also the user ID. My bad. User ID. We're going to pass also the user ID. I forgot to add that. So we are going to pass the user ID as well, so we can store that in the bubble side. Now we're getting back to the refresh out sessions token, and here this is the same ID that we are going to pass. As we're passing with the sign up process, we're passing the user ID to the bubble side to store it in the database. Then when we make a call, we can pass that same field or value was stored in there, we will pass it to this API call. Now, if you want, you could use the user ID, or you could create a new field in the user table, and add a new unique universal ID to make it even more complex to find out or to reproduce your current the parameters you need to make this connection. But yeah, that you can do it if you want. You can try to do that. So now that we are taking the refresh token and the user ID token, we are going to actually look for the session database request. We're going to query our records session, and the output we're going to change it to single, or even exist. Whether I think single is the best. Single, because we are going to use the duration data right now. And we are going to return a session. And for filters, we are going to use the we want this session UUID to be the same as the input refresh token, and also we want to make sure that the session user ID is the same as the input user ID. So this will return the session associated to this user, and with this token are associated to also to this refresh token. And now we are going to add a precondition. So utility functions, precondition, and here we are going to check two things. The first thing is that, of course, that the session exists, session different from null. And also, what we want to check is the expiration date. So this session has a creation date created by default by Xano. Uh, I think it's creation date. Let me check real quick. So create that. Okay, that's a field. Create that. So this is created that, and we have to add this uh, timestamp. We are going to add seconds to this timestamp, and let me get a calculator for this. So if we what one day has how many seconds? 60 times 60 times 24. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so 86,400. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to add seconds to this, seconds to timestamp, but this will also have, we're going to use the duration days, multiplied or times, oh, my bad. Oh, sorry about that. It's taking a little bit. So timestamp, seconds to timestamp. The amount of seconds will be session dot duration days session, and we're going to add a new math times 5. My bad. By 8,600. So that many seconds. So basically, what we're doing is that we're checking that the creation date plus the number of days, uh, the number of days should be less. No, should be more than the current date now, because if it is less, then it means that the duration days has passed since this session was created. So basically, this session has expired. But if it is bigger than the current current date or the timestamp now, that means that there are still a few days left, or there are still time left before it expires. You can double check this logic, but I'm pretty sure this should be work. So I will save this, and we will return the unauthorized. I mean, authorized error. That's it, and save. So basically, what we're doing then, if we will look for the session that is associated to the refresh token and this user, it will return the single item. Then we will check uh, if it's the session exists. If it not, then it means that this is an invalid set of user and refresh token. But if it does, then we will check that the session created at plus the duration in days will be bigger than the current date timestamp or the now timestamp. I just want to make sure that I'm using the right naming for the duration days. Duration days. Duration days. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Okay. Yeah. Now, if everything works out fine, then we will have to create a new set of tokens. So I'm going to again add a utility function precondition. No, sorry, not utility function. Security options, and I will create a new authentication token, and I will also create a new UUID token. Again, this one will be an access token. It will last 1 hour. Uh, User ID object, and we will set this to type. Again, this is not something we're going to use, but I do it anyway, because that way, if you have other tokens, you can associate different types and you can discriminate which is the use of each token. And yeah, I'm going to save this. And finally, I'm going to generate this UUID as a refresh token. Fresh token. Cool. Now let's return the refresh token. My bad. Sorry. Tokens. Oh my God. Sorry. Access token. Yeah, as access token, and we're going to add the refresh token. Refresh token. Save. Access refresh token. Refresh access token. Cool. So yeah, that's it. Now this endpoint should be working fine. Uh, Now, yeah. So now this is the refresh endpoint. It's already working. In the bubble side, meanwhile, we are going to add a few fields in the database. So this is the schema I was using for my last video, where I was storing the access token, the last updated refresh token, scheduled refresh workflow. So we are going to forget about these fields, but we are going to add a new one. It will call Xano ID, which is a number. Create. And now we're going to use this SAN ID to store the user ID in order to make the refresh calls. Now, again, we could store here any value that is in the user table. For instance, here I could add a new column that it's called, I don't know, session UUID, or I don't know. And we will store a new unique universal ID complex string in here. And that's what we could store in this side. But yeah, that would make things more complicated. You will have to use a different logic when fetching the sessions. So I don't want to make this much troublesome. But you can do it totally. So right now we have added the Sano ID, and now we have to create the endpoints in the API connector. So let's go to the plugins tab, API connector, and here I have already. I'm going to delete these endpoints actually. Here I have already a group created for the previous video. So I'm going to create a new auth Xano local storage. Yeah. I suggest you again, if you have watched my first video and my previous video, I always suggest you to add a custom header like the one I have over here. I think it's this one or this one. Uh, I don't think I have it in here actually. Yeah, but often I use a custom out header that I can use to validate my calls, and I will have to insert that rule in each new endpoint to check for the header if it exists. You can do that with a function, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just watch my first video, which is the first one of this second part of my guide. um yeah, let's go back here. Oh, actually, let's go here. So we have now created the group. We're going to create all the inputs right away, the three endpoints. Let's start with this one. Post sign up will be post. Let's go here. Let's copy this endpoint. Again, also you can take the first part of my guide to know how to manage versions. Here I have the endpoint where I manage in different versions, or I think this is one. I don't remember. I think this is the one where I have managing different versions. You can review that how to do that in the first part of my guide. I will try to copy it in the comments, but yeah, I think it's a good idea to also manage your versions if you have access to a scale plan in Xano. So yeah, this is the input for this. I'm going to actually check this box over here, and let's go with the next one. I'm not going to add the parameter right now. This is post login. This is post, and let's go to Xano. Let's copy this login link, and I'm going to check this box. And now we have this one. Oh, my bad. Well, doesn't matter. I'm going to copy this link, and this will be post refresh tokens. It will be post, and there you go. You have the input in there. So I want to check this box, and that's it. So let's get started from the first one, the post sign up. Um, as you can see, I have already two users created in here, so ignore those. Let's go to this endpoint. I'm going to open the sign up endpoint. I'm going to run a debug, and I'm going to copy the schema of this. So right now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pass this in the body, and I'm going to use these variables to uh, we're going to create these variables. I mean, to be able to populate these um, from the client side, from the front end. You have to mark these private checkboxes and make sure that you always include errors in the response. And here we are going to create something test local, and this will be test dot local or ls test.com. I don't know. And here I'm going to enter a password of 8 characters because by default, Sano preconfigures your password field um, to accept a minimum of 8 characters. Yeah, you can take this, but to not confuse you so much, I'm just going to use a standard password of eight numbers, from 1 to 8. Um, and yeah, that should work. Let's also, this should be moved to action. I'm going to change all of this as right away. Actually, actions, all of this should be used as actions. Yeah. And now I'm going to initialize the call, and oops, parsing error syntax. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to add the semicolons. The reason I'm including the semicolons in here because we are going to use in the front end the format as JSON safe or make JSON safe feature, which is actually very nice. I suggest you to use that. And yeah, as you can see, we have here the user ID, the access token, refresh token. We're going to save this. Uh, yeah, let's go save this, and that's it. So now we are going to do more or less the same. I'm going to copy this. We're going to the login, but we're going to erase the name parameter. We're going to mark these ones, and I'm going to copy these ones I have over here. Hop. Paste. There you go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log in. Of course, as I'm initializing manually the endpoints in here, this will create a second session. Actually, let's take a look uh, at the backend after this. I'm going to initialize and oh, my bad. So sorry. I forgot. I made a mistake. Okay, initialize the call. There you go. So now we are retrieving the refresh token, the access token. So I'm going to save this now, and let's go to the backend and check. Let's check the. Oh, I have to refresh this. Refresh. There you go. Let's check the session, and you can see that I have two sessions created. This is because, first of all, I signed it up using the API connector, and then I logged in using the API connector. So right now, the system doesn't has a way to know that I'm doing both calls from the same browser or the same app, but that's because I'm using the API connector manually. Then we are going to build the logic, or you should build the logic in the front on the bubble side to discriminate if the user is logged in. If the user is logged in, you should then enable them to add new tokens, or you could create a new session, but that will replace the tokens of your previous session. So the previous session will be abandoned in the backend. Yeah. That being said, we have this sign up login, and yeah, now we are going to create the refresh call. So for this one, we are actually going to enter to this response, or actually let's jump into this response over here, because I need the user ID as well. So let's see the response. So here we have a refresh token, which we are going to copy, and the user ID is number 6. So we're going to remember that. And I forgot to, actually, let's just use the same technique we were just using, will be faster. Okay, cool. Copy. Oh, my bad. Now paste this. User ID will be again. Will be number 6. Private, and this will be a refresh token. I will mark this. So now let's go again up here and press on manually enter API response, and let's copy the refresh token. Initialize the call. Yeah, again, my bad. Yeah, I had to add this. In this case, just for this, I have to add the semicolons because this is a number and recognized as it is in here. So I'm going to initialize the call. And here you have a new set of tokens. So now, as you can see, the new refresh token is this one. It starts with 602. The one I input was 80E. And if I go again to the backend and refresh this, uh, oh, I forgot an important step in this thing. So yeah, let's go back to the create sessions out tokens. Um, no, not this one. The API call. About. So let's go. I'm a little confused. Okay, here's this refresh out sessions tokens. So when we generated these ones, I forgot that, as I told you, we need to store this actually in the database in order to generate the new ones. So I'm going to add the record and no, not add, sorry. I'm going to edit a session record session. To make it simple, we will replace this with the session UUID. We would use the refresh token we received in the input field, and but when we pass to the session user ID, no, actually this will remain the same. Oh, uh, no, my bad. Sorry. This should be ID. It should be session dot ID. This should be session user ID, session UUID. This one is the one we're going to change. So this will receive the new refresh token we just created, and we will save this. Now, if I go back to my bubble call and I reinitialize this, remember this started with 80E. Let's go back to the database session 80E. Now I'm going to reinitialize this call, and here you have, and we are receiving one is 8EE. So I go back in here, I refresh this, and there you have 8EE. Now, this is going to change all the time. So the old token, refresh token, will be deprecated every time you refresh your token. That's a good thing, actually. And yeah, that's it. So I will save this, and yeah, and that's it for the API calls. That's enough. Uh, Now other first sessions endpoint. Yeah, I already did the steps, the seventh and the eighth. Now the ninth is and the 10th step is to connect this to the front end. So this is actually an interesting part because I developed a plugin especially for this purpose. So here I am in the Xano login local storage. I have a floating group in here that contains two elements of a plugin I developed. Um, so I can't access it right now. Here you have. So as you can see, I have one item called the version manager. I actually going to open this thing. We have the version manager, which I'm not going to use right now because I'm not controlling versions, and we have the token manager, which actually uses local storage, and it has two fields. The first field is the amount of time you want to wait before refreshing the token, and this is in minutes. Actually, this is in minutes. So our access token has a duration of 1 hour, so we want to use the half of that time to between um, between refreshes. So we will refresh every 30 minutes. We will refresh our tokens, and this will trigger a manual event that we can use in the backend to, I mean, not in the backend, in the workflow tab to make a sequence of events. Alternatively, what you could do is that you could create a do it every X seconds. In this case, will be every 30 minutes to perform the refresh um, call to the Xano side. So this is already a big difference because we are no longer refreshing from the server side of Bubble, but instead we are pushing the refresh from the client side in Bubble. So yeah, uh, basically, and one thing that we have to take into account. Let me show these both forms. I think this one is mistaken. I'm going to replace the naming of this button. Okay, login. So what we want to do is that when the we sign up, we want to make the call to the backend. This calls. Let me look for the storage sign up. Uh, but firstly, actually, what we're going to do is what we did in the previous video. We're going to create or sign up the user and the bubble side. So it will be the email will be input email. Oh my god, I have to update this real quick. Sorry. Okay, workflows. So sign up value, uh, password, sign up value, and at the end of this, add the JSON save format as JSON save. Because remember, the plugin we're not adding the semicolons by default, but we're going to use this JSON format as JSON save in order to pass it to the API. JSON save. There you go. And yeah, you can fill these other fields as you want. um so this will be the step number actually this will be the step number two, or the step number one. Yeah, step number one. Let's make it as in the so here we're going to have the input name value JSON, email, and password. Login. Set login, password, sign up, value, JSON safe. Cool. Um, yeah. So what we're going to do is that now is that in the previous video we're going to delete the current user in case this fail, and we are going to log the user out, and then we're going to terminate the workflow. This will only happen if this second step fails. Then this sequence of events should trigger. So what I'm going to do that now is I'm going to use the result of the step two of this Xano call, and I will check if it return an error. If it is yes, then this will trigger. If it's no, then these steps will it will skip these steps. Remember that to enable the that boolean that I'm using, you have to check this box down here. I've checked all of the boxes in all the API calls, and actually I'll always do that because that way you can manage errors better, or it's easier to manage error. Um, so yeah, so the user sign up, the um, also the user has been created in the bubble side. I mean the Xano side. Then we're going to make changes to the current user. Uh, make changes to current user, and we are going to change the Xano ID, and this will be the result of step two, user ID. There you go. So now what we have here is that you sign up with the bubble in the bubble side. If it fails for some reason, then it will stop right here, right now. But if it successfully creates the account, then it will create the account in the Xano side. If for some reason this creation fails, then what we will do is that we will delete the current user, and then logs us out. And the reason is because even if you erase or delete the current user, it will take a few seconds before the system recognizes that you're logged, you should be logged out. So we will do it manually anyways, and then we will terminate the workflow. But if the account is created successfully in Xano, then it will skip these three steps, and it will store the Xano ID in the user table. So now I suggest you to mark this. I don't know, not to mark this. Sorry, I suggest you to how to say this. I never mind. I was okay. So yeah, now you can notice that we're storing the Xano ID, but we haven't stored yet the access token and the refresh tokens. As I said, we are going to store them in the local storage. So you can either use one of these two options. You could use your one plugin to manually store these tokens with the naming that you want, or you can use my own plugin called the token, the plugin I just showed you, the token manager for Xano, and you can use this element action which is called set tokens. So basically what you have to do here is pass the access token, result of step one or step two, sorry, pass the access token. You have to pass the refresh token, result of step two, refresh token, and now this will store automatically the tokens in your local storage. So yeah, hey, I had to cut the video was recording, but now I'm starting this new one. I have some issues yesterday, so I'm going to continue it right now. Yeah, where we I dropped off is this place where we created the sign up process. So we sign up the user first in the bubble side, and in Xano, if it fails, we delete the current user, we log the user out, and terminate the workflow. But if we create the Xano account successfully, then we make changes to the current user to store the Xano ID, and then we use this action, which is actually an action you can use from my plugin token, the token Xano token manager. And basically, what this does is that you pass the, as I told you, the access token and the refresh token from your Xano call to retrieve, to create the account or retrieve the tokens, etc., and pass them in here. Um, so just for your information, here I have a floating group where it contains my token manager element. You can put this in the background or something. The only trick is that you have to keep it visible. Yeah, I was trying to make it invisible, not visible, but I'm still doing some research to see if I can make this happen. For now, just keep it visible somewhere. It actually doesn't really needs to be in a group, or I don't know. You just can have it in the background or whatever. So basically, what this action that's related to this element that I have here, what it does is that it sets the access token and refresh token in the how it's called, sorry, the local storage, and also publish a state of this element for the access token, the refresh token, which you can access from the bubble editor. So just to show you, I'm going to enter a text in here. Let's create a text. Let's call this, let's make it dynamic and connect it to the token manager element. And we'll have here, let's display the access token. So now when the access token is retrieved from the local storage, or you set it using this action here, set token manager, then it will be displayed in the published state and also in the text we just created. So yeah, that's for the sign up part. Before trying this out, I think it's a good idea to start logging, to complete the login form right away. So let's create a new event. In this case, what we are going to do first is login the user. This is the right login, right? Login. Logo storage login. There you go. And here we're going to enter the email login. Sorry, value and JSON for safe. Here's the password, login, value, JSON safe. Cool. Um, this is the first one. If it success, if it fails to log in for some reason, the credentials were wrong or whatever, we can just show an alert. Let's call this something like wrong credentials. Of course, the reason that it's returning an error may differ from time to time, because it could be happening that it's timing out, or the credentials are really wrong. So depending of the case, you may want to display one message or the other, but I'm not going to show you how to do that here right now. I'm going to talk more about this in my next blog post about, or the third part of this guide. But for now, let's just display a message so we can know that it's failing for some reason. So if this return an error, yes, this will be shown, and we will terminate the workflow as well. We're going to copy this conditional. I'm going to paste it in here, and that's it. Now, what we want to do is log the user in the bubble side. We're going to use the, again, email login value, and this time we don't have to format it JSON safe, password login. There you go, value. This box over here, if you mark it as yes, then the duration of this session will be of 1 year. In the bubble side, of course, because we can control the duration of the Xano token or the Xano session to whatever we want, whatever is the range of days we want to set in the backend. Yeah, just for you to know, if you mark it as no, I think this session in bubble will last only 24 hours. So make sure that it is marked as yes, unless you want to make it, I don't know, shorter and last the session last one day at most. And yeah, and after this, what we're going to do actually is that we have to set the tokens in the local storage. For this, we are going again to use the element action, set token as a token manager. And we are going to enter here a new access token, and this will be the result of step one access token. And this is the result of step one again, and refresh token. So yeah, that's it. We log in. We log in both in Xano and in the Bubble side, and then we set the tokens. Uh, After this, you can do whatever you want. You can navigate to another page, etc. And yeah, sign up. Yeah, I think that's it for now. And let's try this actually. I think we have an account created. Let me see. Or let's create a new account from scratch. I think that's better. Okay, let's sign up. So what we're going to use here is a test over storage. Um, Actually, make this test as well. So aim test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, my bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are going to sign up. Let's view the debugger to make sure that everything's working properly. So we are signing the user up in Bubble. It worked. We're sending the code to Xano. Uh, this conditional is marked as no, so everything is fine. And we make changes to the current user to store the Xano ID. Let's see that. There you go. Finally, oh, sorry. Uh, we are going to set the tokens. And now, after doing this, we should see the text that we put below this form, completed with the access token. So let's run, and there you go. You can see that this is over here. So as you can see, now the token is stored in here. But another nice thing is that if I refresh this, then I should get immediately access to it. So there you go. As you can see, the plugin is already fetching this from the local storage, so you don't have to handle some command logic to do this. The plugin will manage this for you, and you don't have to spend some time configuring this or maintaining this logic. So yeah, we know the sign up form is working. Let's see about uh, what about the login form. This is a sign in form, and we complete this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's log in, and yeah, it changed. As you can see, it changed because we just let's log in again actually to show you. Um, we are authenticating the user in the Sano side. Uh, this will create a new session though, so keep that in mind. It will create a new session. As it worked, it will skip these steps, and here we will have this login flow or step to log in the bubble side. And here we are retrieving the tokens and passing them to the plugin. So now you can see that the access token that we are displaying in the background will change again. There you go. So yeah, that's basically how the sign up and login flow work. Of course, we can customize them a little bit more, so we can manage handle I don't know, handle errors, or if you want to move the user to another page when they are logged in, you can do that, etc. One thing you should keep in mind is that if you allow the same user to re-enter the login page and log in while they are already in a session, a new session will be created. So it will be replaced by the new one, but the other one will remain in the database and it will just exist there. So I suggest you just to create some kind of logic to send the user to another page if they are already logged in. If not, yeah, actually it shouldn't harm to have multiple sessions created. So yeah, you can leave it as it is. You can clean your database from time to time to clear all from the database records all the sessions that have expired so far. And yeah, one last thing I wanted to show you is an event that is also this element has. As you can see when taking a look at the plugin, it has two options. The first one is to enable refresh tokens event, and the wait minutes before refreshing. This is actually what this does is that every a certain amount of time you defining here will trigger an event that you can use to to do or to refresh your tokens. It won't actually refresh your token unless you use it for that purpose. But I'm going to show you how you can use it. You can either use this functionality, or you can use the do every amount of seconds. This one over here, do every 5 seconds and change the timer to, I don't know, whatever is the time you want to wait before refreshing your tokens. I personally I'm trying to keep everything in the plugin to make it as simple as possible. But yeah. So how do we do this? We look for the event that's associated to the plugin, and we have to use this one, refresh tokens. So as I said, this will trigger every certain amount of minutes. In this case, in this field, we define the amount of minutes we want to wait. So as I have input 0.25, it will wait 15 seconds to make the next call. So what we are going to do is that, let's see, we are going to actually, let me put this over here. We're going to do the Xano call to refresh the tokens, local storage, refresh tokens. Here we're going to input the current user Xano ID, and here we're going to input the current, no, this token manager refresh token, and we're going to format it as JSON safe. There you go. After with this, what we're going to do is we're going to make the API call to the backend to retrieve the new set of tokens. Now that we have this new set of tokens, we should again just for to keep this keep this healthy. Um, Actually, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the set tokens right away. So we're going to use this action set token as token manager, etc. And here I'm going to place the result of step one access token and the result of step two, yeah, results refresh tokens. And with this, we are going to be every certain amount of time. In this case, we're going to refresh it every 15 seconds. As the duration of my token will be, of my access token will be 1 hour, I normally will make this call or refresh my tokens every 30 minutes. And yeah, so we're going to test this now. I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to actually keep activated the step-by-step flow. So now when this workflow event triggers, we will see what's going on. Let's wait for a second here. There you go. Let me put this over here. So what we're doing is that we're making the API call to Xano, we should be receiving the tokens, and we're passing these tokens to the set tokens token manager action. And now you can see that in the foreground, the access token change. So I will leave it as it is, and you will see that this will keep changing. And actually, to be more precise, let me open the. Oh, this is weird. There you go. I had to refresh it. So you can see that the new access and refresh token are being stored. Every 15 seconds, they will be refreshed. So let's wait a little bit and take a look at the access refresh token. Actually, the other one is sometimes doesn't change that much. There you go. So you can see that it's changing the access token and the refresh token every 15 seconds, and your users will be logged in, and you should set this to the half of the duration of each of the access token. So it will be every 30 minutes, 50 minutes, depending on how much duration will your access token have. And yeah, my only suggestion is every time you enter to a page that the user should be logged in, add the event what's the events? Yeah, page is loaded, and when the page is loaded, refresh the tokens. Just do it every time you want to um how to say this, every time you enter to a page that the user should be logged in, just create the event page is loaded, and pass the to the how is this called set this the not the access tokens. Sorry, my bad. I was thinking other thing. Call make the refresh token. Sorry, wrong call. This one. Make the refresh call. Pass the right parameters and token manager. Refresh token. JSON save. There you go. And then yeah, pass this to the plugin set. So step one, access token. Step one, refresh token. Yeah, and actually, good thing is that we have this plugin has another event that I'm going to show you very quickly. I'm still working on this because I want to make it more powerful. But there's an event that triggers when the events are when the tokens are not found. So in this case, what I'm going to do is showing an alert will show an error. Um, then oh, tokens not found. I'm going to raise this and you will see in action when we load the page and we will delete the items from the local storage. And yeah, so let's refresh the page. As you can see here, we have the new tokens. The new Actually, let me activate again this step by step. So let me refresh this. So we are running this page is loaded. It's making the call. We are passing the new tokens, and the access token and the refresh token have changed in the local storage. And what we are going to do now, just to show you, let me put in normal. Just run. Okay, let's erase this and this, and then we should receive an error. We will see the error alert up here. Let's wait for it. A few seconds. Mm. Oh yeah, because I'm using. Sorry. Let me just erase this one, and I'm going to. Yeah, there you have tokens not found. Tokens not found. This means yeah, the reason it was refreshing, I was able to refresh because it was the tokens was still stored in the what's it called the tokens were still saved in the state of the plugin. So when I refreshed and the tokens weren't found in the local storage, then they were empty. And this every 15 seconds, when I'm trying to refresh the tokens, I'm receiving this error that token manager the tokens weren't found because I'm trying to pass the new tokens which are empty because I don't have a refresh token right now. So I'm not receiving anything, and this triggers this error or this event that displays this message saying that the tokens were not found. So yeah, so that's basically it. I hope it wasn't too complex or to understand. Please, you can follow my guide through as well to understand a few concepts or review a few concepts I explain in more detail. And yeah, that's it. So see you next time, and I hope this was helpful for you guys.